traffic has risen from 1.8 million passengers in 2022 to 2.5 million passengers in 2025. A significant increase that underscores Ghana's growing connectivity and appeal as a destination of choice. But with growth comes pressure. We're already seeing congestion during peak hours, particularly between the hours of 1800 and 2200 GMT. This is affecting check-in, immigration, security screening, boarding, and baggage handling. If these are not addressed, these pressures will undermine efficiency and erode the pleasant passenger experience. Our response has therefore been deliberate and phased. Through the Ministry of Transport and the Ghana Airport Company Limited, we've launched the Terminal 2 repurposing project, which is going to transform Terminal 2 into a dual-purpose facility capable of handling both domestic and international traffic. This will be complemented by the strategic relocation of selected airlines to Terminal 2 to ease the congestion at Terminal 3. I hear some airlines are reluctant to move to Terminal 2. But what I'm going to see at Terminal 2 today, I'm sure when we finish, they will be begging us to move to Terminal 2. However, these interventions alone are not sufficient. A critical gap remains: the absence of seamless airside connectivity between Terminal 2 and 3, limited transit passenger infrastructure, and continued reliance on standalone facilities.
We already have done some work ourselves. Earlier, when I was president, we did the Akleotoko Sea Defense, all that area. Before that, Rawlings government had done the Keta Sea Defense, and then we also did Blekusu 1, and then Blekusu 2 is currently ongoing. The rest of the coast is supposed to be covered by the World Bank $150 million Waka project, and that includes this area all the way to Ketu south and parts of Angloga. And so, as the minister told you, there's going to be sea defense, and there are also going to be groins built into the sea to break the current, the strong waves, so that it will come back to the coast in a very gentle manner. There will also be planting of coconut trees on the beaches in order to stabilize the soil. They would also help with planting of mangroves in the estuary to defend
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.
Good morning and thank you very much for joining us on Pan-African Television. We are live from our studios at Abelingbe. We are live on YouTube today on Pan-African Television. That's the page. Just look for Pan-African Television. You get to watch us live. We apologize today we are unable to stream live on Facebook, but you can follow us on YouTube where we are live. You can also use a number that will be displaying across the screen to share a message or two, comments, what you think about the discussion we'll be having this morning. On the matter of our talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Here, we say it as it is, no matter who is involved in the end, we try to leave you better educated. Don't forget, we are live on radio, on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. We are also live on many other affiliate stations across the country. My name is SENA NOMBO. Well, this morning we are discussing the balance sheet of the Bank of Ghana. In fact, someone said something this week that stuck with me, that the balance sheet of a central bank is sometimes a poor reflection of their performance. Is that the situation here? That even though the performance looks good based on their mandate, the balance sheet does not follow? Well, we'll be discussing that. They've recorded a loss of $15.6 billion Ghana cedis. Majority of it, the gold purchase program. Well, then we'll move on to, and kudos to our engineers at Greco and also at the VRA, because we experienced a force majeure situation that threatened power supply throughout this country. We lost 1,000 megawatts. That's the power that was coming in from Akosombo, more than 1,000 megawatts. And also, there's a pass-through dam of Bong. When Akosombo is down, Bong power also doesn't come through. So they needed to do something about it. And they spent this week trying to get the power up and running. As of yesterday, we understand all turbines are running and Akosombo is contributing its due, including Kwong contributing their due to power supply to the homes of everyone resident in Ghana here. But there are some issues that persist. The ECG, the Ministry of Energy, have been trying to provide some responses to people who say before the issue happened, before that fire happened at the Akosombo station, we were having power outages, regular, but you never know when it will happen. Well, we offer an explanation. One of it is transformers, power transformers, which they say they are trying to fix and work on. The minority says, blame the government, it is their incompetence. We leave them a plan, they have abandoned the plan, they are doing something else. The Energy Ministry says, no, that's not true. We have actually picked your plan, enhanced it. In fact, you abandoned your own plan. So we'll be having that discussion in our first round, our second round. Then the third round, we'll talk about the US made us an offer. You were ready to give us some aid for our health sector. In return, we're supposed to surrender the data, health data of every Ghanaian. We're not the only ones who received that offer. Other African countries also did. And they all had one unanimous response. No, please. Well, so we'll be talking about that to conclude the discussion for today. And joining me in the studio for the discussion today, it's wonderful to see Nino Hansenote this morning. He's former Member of Parliament for Tema Central. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my big brother, SENA.
I hope
it's a pleasure being back. This is our home.
Yeah.
At Alhaji&Alhaji. Unfortunately, I've been away for a while. And thanks for bringing me back.
And it's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. We see Adakwa is a member of the Accra Collective of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Nice to see you this morning. And I hope you're well.
Very nice to see you, Senior SENA. This year I've been here a couple of times, and it's always wonderful to see you again and to talk to our listeners and also to share with them what we have, and then to also hear from them, all in the service of our country.
Michael Niabwanan is a financial analyst, member of the NDC, specifically in Ododo-Diodio. That is very, very important in talking about him. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I hope you're well.
By His grace.
How is Ododo-Diodio?
Oh, it's okay. We are managing.
Well, to conclude our panel, of course, is lawyer Andrew Appiah Dankwa. He's Director Legal of the United Party. That completes our panel for the discussion for today. As always, you are an important part of the show, so do join us. Share a comment with us. If you're watching us via YouTube, share your comments with us. If you're watching us live on your television set, listen to us on radio, use that number, send a text message or send a WhatsApp message. I'll read it as we go along in the show. Let's start from the loss that we are seeing with the BOG. I wanted Nia Boy to start for us, but I would have to start with the knee in the middle before I go to him. I want to start with you before I go to Nia Boy, and let's hear you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Senna. I want to take this opportunity to also wish my son a happy birthday. My son and my mother-in-law.
They share the same birthday?
Yes, they share the same birthday, so I can't forget hers. Okay. I wish them a happy birthday. God continue to bless them, give them wisdom, and let him grow in wisdom and in stature.
Happy birthday to them.
Happy birthday to Samuel. And I also want to say good morning to all the people of Tema Central and Ghanaians as a whole, and then our NPP fraternity. We are poised to win power in 2028. We want to work hard and secure power and help develop our country, Ghana. On the issue of the loss of the 16 billion at BOG, I want to take it from this premise that central banks don't make losses. You know, there's a school of thought that central banks don't make losses, which I subscribe to. Why do we say so? Because central banks make money out of create money out of thin air. I mean, I can create something out of thin air and make a loss technically, but they make losses on other ancillary things that they do. So if you listen to the explanations that the Bank of Ghana gave, there are two components of the losses that we are talking about. One is merely accounting, or purely accounting, and the other one is trading losses that have come out of the gold board transactions. Gold purchase program, exactly. So I want to take them on two different scales. When it comes to the policy side of things, look, I would recommend this book to maybe every Ghanaian or every political scientist or economist. It's called The Princes of the Yen. It was by one Richard Werner. He's a German guy who stayed in Japan. And he looked at how post-war Japan came out of poverty, in quotes, using the central bank as the anchor for development. So the central bank has a certain power to create wealth, to create money, to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, and also invest in local development. And that's what they did. They did what you call window guidance, where the central bank, I would say, did what you call today quantitative easing, printed money, but push the money through productive activity, not recurrent expenditure. So in Ghana, we print money or do quantitative easing to take care of teachers' salaries, nurses' salaries, expenditures that don't necessarily create wealth. But what they did in Japan, which is what developed companies like Korea, like Toyota and all these companies, was to pump money directly into certain aspects of economic development, especially the productive aspects of economic development, so that it would fight inflation. Because once you are producing, production, fights inflation naturally, as compared to pumping money into the economy without any productive activity. So it is something that central banks, is a tool that central banks use. So technically, to say that the central bank has made a loss, because the central bank printed the money, sent the money into the economy, and now went back to the commercial banks to collect the money back at a certain rate that is more expensive than the money that the rate that the central bank actually gave to the commercial banks. So we have to understand that from that perspective, because this money is fiat money. It's created out of nothing. It is, when we say a fiat, it's just like a word, by word of mouth. Like Christians will say, God commanded and separated the waters from the earth. It's a fiat. It was just said and it was done. So that's how our money is created. Some people even think that it is a fraudulent structure. But hey, that is what works today in the world, you know. So I don't see it as a loss per se. It is actually how we go about using the tools or that fiat authority to develop our local economy that really matters to me. The fact that the central bank was mopping up the money was for a purpose. The main purpose was to reduce inflation. Obviously, we all know that inflation takes money out of our pocket without actually, it's like an invisible hand that enters your wallet to take some money out of your pocket. So that's what inflation does, and we're trying to reduce it, which is good. But inflation is like blood pressure. When you have very low blood pressure, it can also kill you. When you have excessive high blood pressure, it can also kill you. You have to find a nice balancing act in between where your blood pressure is okay, so that you don't, it doesn't go too high, it doesn't come too low, and it doesn't kill you. So low inflation can even create deflation, which is not good for business, because there must be some little inflation in there to keep the economy going. So for me, when you look at the history of the world and you see how countries like Korea, Japan, South Korea, Japan, what you call the Asian tigers, changed their economy. They used the power of the central bank. They used the tools that were available to them at that level to be able to change the economy. If you look at the Asian crisis, the financial crisis in 1998 in Thailand and in Malaysia and all those places, how did they come out of it? They came out of it using their central banks. They did some quantitative easing, and over time, their industries picked up, and the industries were able to, grow their economies, keep the people working, keep the productive sector working, and the economies have grown. So we have to also be looking at that. It's like a targeted form of quantitative easing. You are not just doing quantitative easing for doing sake. So it's something we have to look at. But the other side of the loss, which is the gold trading part, it's where I find it a bit difficult to find. Why buy your own gold at a premium and sell it at a discount? Then you might as well let the gold sit in the ground. You are not in a rush to sell the gold. Why should you be in a rush to sell the gold if you know you're not going to make a profit on it, or you're not even going to break even? Because if I recall, the IMF report that we got the last time was about $200 million loss on the transactions that had taken place in a period of 1 year. That is huge. Do you know how many hospitals $200 million can build in Ghana? Or schools, 6 classroom blocks that it can build in Ghana. It's such a big loss that it doesn't make economic sense. Not forgetting the environmental losses that we are making on the mining side of gold. Because we know that this majority of this gold is coming from small-scale miners, including illegal miners. So what are we gaining at the end of the day? If we would destroy our own environment, get the gold and sell it at a loss, one on the back of trading losses, and then also on currency fluctuation, and then premiums that we are paying. So that first loss, which is the policy loss, is understandable. But the second side of the loss, which is the gold trading loss, is very difficult to fathom or to accept as it is. So for me, sometimes you can even have a loss where you are using that loss as a leverage to build upon. So that 9 billion that we got, what was the effect of the 9 billion? The 9 billion, the effect was to create jobs in China and Malaysia and Indonesia, because that's where we import most of our goods from, and Brazil. We rather use the money to shore up traders who are going to bring other people's goods into our market. That's what we did. By keeping the currency at a certain level, which invariably may not be the best for even our exporters, because it makes our currency expensive as compared to other jurisdictions. So for me, that 9 billion gain that we made, or windfall that we got, could have also been used to stall other things, or do massive infrastructure investments, so that the losses that we're making, the $200 million losses that we're making, could have been gained from somewhere else, maybe in manufacturing. We could have gained that in developing new power plants to take care of the shortfalls that we are having today in terms of the power sector. So, SENA, these are the problems that we have. With regards to this loss that we have. But this loss is not new. The 16 billion loss is not new. The previous regime also had a loss of about 54 billion, if my memory serves me right. Yes. So I should tell you that we print money all the time. Our governments print money all the time. Maybe finding excuses to print money all the time. And I'm not saying that printing money is wrong. But what you print the money for is the most important thing. If you print the money to pay recurrent debts, obviously it will come back to bite you. You will have that inflation, and then you go back onto the market to go and mop up that inflation. If you print money for industrialization, for productive activity, for developing your manufacturing sector, yes, then that one we would be able to cover that inflationary loss that that would be engineered if we had just spent the money on recurrent expenditure. So, Senator, those would be my preliminary comments on this matter. But just as I said, we have to look at this holistically. We have to look at it holistically as a state, how we want our economy to be. Are we going to maintain this Gettysburg economy, or we're going to look at it from a perspective where we would show up industrialization, we will show up manufacturing, so that some of these perennial problems, it's become like a cycle. If it's not power, it's Bank of Ghana making losses. That these things don't occur all the time. It's like we are not solving our problems. We are just managing the problems, and the problems go around in circles and comes back. And after 8 years, another government takes over, and the cycle continues. So, Senator, that would be my preliminary remarks on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I come to I go to Nia Boy. This is Engineer King Scott, who says the Bank of Ghana tagged largest loss occurred in 2022, mainly due to the domestic debt exchange program. Subsequent losses in 2023 to 2025 were driven by high interest costs and reduced income from restructured assets. While the cumulative losses amount to about 96.3 billion Ghana cedis, this differs from the reported negative equity of 93.8 billion, because negative equity reflects the overall balance sheet position, not just accumulated losses. It also incorporates prior equity reserves and valuation adjustments. Additionally, figures such as 34 billion cedis or 44 billion often cited in public discussions relate to other comprehensive income, which includes non-cash and potentially reversible items like revaluations. This should not be interpreted as realized losses. Humando Sichope sent that from Guan constituency of the OT region. Thank you very much. There's Saeed, who is joining us, says, good morning. Please, anyone who heard about the history of minority from the onset knew, as Ronnie said. May you so rest well. They are the same people with different dresses. We have been with them before, all the teachers. We should never support the ruling government. Whatever good things that is UP, Mahama should go ahead with his good work. We are all praying for him to build Mother Ghana. Please take your time and write the message. Sometimes it becomes difficult for me to go through them. And thank you very much for the comments you are sending to us. Now, the minority, like Sijo was saying, the minority is, no, not the minority in its entirety. Kojo Ponkruma is suggesting that the loss is 44 billion, not 15.6 billion, as the Bank of Ghana says. Ni?
Well. Permit me to greet my brother. Today I've handed over the white shirt to him. And to Comrade Dakwa, it's been a while. I think we met once, yeah. And for SENA, I think it's been
a while.
I don't know the reason, but we'll talk about that. Well, and to your viewers as well, great talk. Well, I have heard a lot of commentaries from both the side of government, coming from Parliament basically, and then we've heard like Kojo Point Nkrumah, and then I think Gideon Buaku also, and all that. Yes, we've heard all of that. What I want to start with is that it is not by choice to actually present BOG's financial statement in the manner in which it has been done. It is guided by standards. And those standards had gone through certain procedures for it to be issued and to be used. And all those professionals within the space of accounting had opportunity when the exposure drafts were issued for you to say that this is proper or not proper. But once it is accepted and it is an international standard, then it will be used. The standard demands that you take into account certain costs, whether implicit or explicit. Once the standard demands, then it is a cost that you would have realized or have already realized. And it is clear in its presentation and what it means. So, again, I think that some of the voices should be tamed. And we should put things in proper perspective. In this space, we do not have space enough for ignorance. There shouldn't be any space for ignorance. It's either you know what you are talking about or you don't. And I think that that is how we should deal with these issues. Now, the statement of profit or loss is very clear. It's very clear on what is an operational loss. And our operational loss is 15 billion. End of matter. Our comprehensive loss is 34 billion. Or probably put right, 34.9 billion. And that is also a fact. Unless you can tell me that some of the measures in terms of equity investments, its fair value, which has been put as a loss, is not true. It was not measured correctly. Then you can show us in the notes where the mistakes are coming from. But the comprehensive loss of BOG is 34.9 billion. Those mentioning 40-something billion is the actual loss and this is not loss. Yes, I am right to say that operational loss is 15.6. What that means is that what I did, my core business, produced this amount of loss. Now, if other investments that I have made, because of one reason or the other, measuring their fair value brought me some losses, it is also a loss, but not my operational loss. So let's situate the conversation rightly. So, then I have heard people saying, using the word accounting loss, accounting loss, accounting loss. I don't know what is accounting loss. There is nothing like accounting loss. No. And I have always advocated that, look, it is time by our own design, bring the activities of BOG to Parliament. Let them present their budgets. Let them present a comprehensive program to Parliament so that when they deviate, we can ask the appropriate questions at the appropriate forum. Now, so let's deal with the issues of the operations of BOG. And I want to be brutally frank. Myself, I criticize what they called gold for oil. And I have compared the notes at the period under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia era. And I have compared the notes of today. And basically there is little difference. I would even say that there was more in terms of disclosure than I see today. Where they tell us that, well, we put forward our gold, 155,000 ounce for 3% discount or 2%, if my memory serves me right. And then we pay these costs in terms of interest, and we get access to foreign currency to buy oil and do so, whatever. Today, I think note 13 shows clearly that it is a similar program we are still on. For me, my issue is, if we do not believe in what was being done and we criticize it, perhaps I was the only one who criticized it, then I do not see why note 13 actually have gold for oil. The new introduction, which is gold for reserve, it is also clear that these were actual losses we had made. We had actually made those losses. There is nothing like accounting costs. There is nothing like it's a clear loss. But when you are making losses, you need to compare the periods. You need to compare prices and what have you. The entire operation of the gold for reserve must properly be structured. And I think I will again advocate that a proper structure and a control program should be put around that particular program. In the sense that, how much losses were we making in 2024 regarding gold for reserves? We all know the gold prices, I mean the benchmark prices, we all know them. In 2025, the period, the financial period, did we see a huge reduction in price, for which we could say that in the program period we were able to buy so much gold at a certain high price, and when we were about to liquidate to get foreign currencies, prices have plummeted, and therefore we made those losses. We should come clear. Period. You see, there are things we can play propaganda with. In accounting, that space is not available. The figures will speak to it, and figures don't lie. It is not like English that the lawyers will find 3 or 4 meanings for the same word. No. In here, 1 is 1 and 2 is 2. So instead of the literature we are being subjected to, let's come clear on what actually costs us this position. Because that loss is clear. It meant that for every ounce of gold we sold, we made a loss of about 3,095 Ghana cedis. And somebody has the responsibility And for that matter, the directors of BOG have that responsibility to explain to us what actually happened, because this can be digested by everybody who actually knows what accounting means. It is not the responsibility of anybody from Parliament in the majority to come and explain to us what happened. And for me, that is a law. There are directors responsible for this financial statement for which they have signed the financial statement. If you were not the one to sign this financial statement as the governor and director of BOG, you have no business coming to us to tell us what the losses were made of or were not made of. Again, there were clear fissures that came down from 2022-2023. Those features we all know in terms of our debt restructuring and the cost burden that it brought us all and what BOG had to take on. Those features are not just gone or fizzle out. We are on a path of correcting some of these things, and so far we have done so well in doing that. We have done well in managing the macroeconomy, which is the responsibility of BOG. And they've done well in there. I mean, they've done tremendously well. But we must remember that what we started some years back as correction in terms of the DDEP and what came with the DDEP was the fact that we were kicked out of the capital market in terms of the bonds, issuing of bonds for long-term borrowing by government and what have you to finance the physical space. And one of the programs that BOG took on is the OMO operation, the open market operation, where we were borrowing short-term, which is more expensive to government. And therefore, the cost of 16.7 billion is as a result of that. And we could say that the implicit gains have been felt by all of us. That is not accounting. We will not show it in the accounting of it. But to explain this and to give reason to this, we must come to the physical space and ask that if inflation is down, if the exchange rate is at a better position today, what it means is that businesses are operating at a lesser cost, which means more revenue to government, especially the import-dependent businesses. So that I would assume that such businesses should declare more profit and pay more taxes. And on the line, in our fiscal budget, I should see a tremendous increase in company income tax. I should see improvement in terms of VAT. And I believe that anybody who seeks to explain what the 16 billion cost is all about should focus on that rather than what we are talking about. Then we know our expenditures in terms of the currency management and the sale of currency and what have you. Yes, if the currency back then was assuming 15 cedis a dollar, and today it is at a certain position, all assets held in foreign currency, in terms of valuing them, would see some losses on them. And that has been properly accounted for. And we could see it, that yes, it's manageable. But clearly, the very things that are bringing us the operational loss of 15 billion, and the major ones for that matter, is the loss on gold deals and the costs of open market operations. These two are the significant ones that stands out. Does this hurt us? I would say that the open market operation, our hands are tied. We have no option. And that is a fissure created some years back. And we are trying to solve it. And to solve it right, you must actually chisel out the weak side of the wall and properly treat it and put the necessary concrete in there, so that in the near future, not a force majeure or the reckless hands of a privileged few will open up this fissure again. For me, nothing much has happened. What has happened is the drama of literature going around when it shouldn't be entertained in the field of accounting. From both sides, we should get to where the meat is and talk about what is necessary. Because some of the things I'm hearing are actually not necessary, not in place, and a clear exhibition of ignorance, whether fueled by politics, propaganda. It is up to those who are making it. But for me, there is nothing like propaganda when it comes to figures, because they will never lie. I will end by saying that BOG losses matters. I said it some day back. The BOG losses matters. And yes, they matter today. I cannot help but to be consistent. And that is where the truth is. Why does it matter? It matters because the operational aspect of everything BOG does is a reflection of how this economy was managed. And is it good? Is it bad? Yes, it is bad because it reduces their equity. It makes them less attractive. Investors will ask questions. Are we out of the woods? No, we have not. We are not out of the woods. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. Let us not pretend. What is holding us up can also be the reason for us descending into the gates of hell. And therefore, we should be careful and mindful on how we discuss issues with our economy, issues with our macroeconomy, issues with our physical space. And it is not a discussion for people who are ignorant about figures and how accounting is structured. It is an engagement of people who know what time is it. And there is no space for propaganda or our cheap politicking, partisan for that matter. The laws matter, and we must look and make a conscious effort towards correcting what has happened today and not sweep it under the carpet as if it was necessary. And there is no solution to this. There is a solution to it. And that is what we should be discussing, both sides, and not what I'm hearing. Because what I'm hearing is not meant for the corridors of people who know what they are about. Thank you.
Solutions, because you're just talking about solutions, and then you did not say anything regards.
They have to pay him for it.
You see?
We're all waiting for that.
Yeah, the solution. Yeah, because even the bank, when you listen to a few of them who have spoken, agree that there's a, like you said, there's a problem. I think you are asking for a bit more clarity in terms of where the losses are coming from, but the solutions we want to hear.
You see, I cannot fault BOG, but clearly, if you look at the notes, what they have shown us is the gain and losses made out of the trade of gold.
Okay.
Right? They have not given us how the accounting, the raw accounting was done.
Okay.
And that is what I had explained earlier, saying that you bought gold at what price? At what fees?
Okay.
Because we all know that there is a gold board. Right? In this space, gold is money. So, is there a possibility that without the gold board, BOG can go directly and buy its gold?
Okay.
But we have set up a structure that, and given the responsibility to gold board, that you buy and then sell. So, if I come to BOG to buy gold, at what rate, at what price am I buying that gold for reserve purposes? Now, what I am buying with Ghana cedis.
Okay.
But its valuation is in USD. We all know that the rates have dropped in terms of USD. But we also saw an appreciation in price. So there are two variables in here. What we need to do as the way forward is to ask ourselves, at what rate, price should gold be bought? Because you know that there is an international benchmark. And there should be some clarity that BOG, you cannot go to the gold board and buy gold at the world market price. Right? And then go and sell it at what price? At a discounted price. And who bears the loss? And that is why I said that let's put a proper structure around the gold for reserve. Let's carve that out. Separate it. Delineate it clearly and say this is how you can operate. This is how you can go. If not, then it means that what we are trying to say is that our only interest is the foreign exchange. Okay. But mind you, it is either you printed money to buy the gold, or it is money you have earned to buy the gold. So it is either you are using cheap money, and at the same time, with one hand, trying to control inflation, which has cost us 16 billion, you are pushing money into the system, which has no hard work behind it, causing the same inflation back again.
Okay.
And that is where we need to bring clarity to. So for me, if you ask me for the way forward, I will tell you that Gold Board cannot deal with BOG on the same wavelength as dealing with the Aboyana if I want to buy gold. And that structure, we must all understand that it is in the interest of BOG, its image, and the country as well. Because the implicit and explicit cost of it, we will bear it and we will see it in the accounting.
Okay.
So we need to carve that out separately and deal with it.
Okay.
And we shouldn't hide anything around that. Because as much as someone will be responsible with this, someone else can be very irresponsible with this very thing. And it is dangerous going forward.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. A question for him.
I have a question for you.
The question I have is in terms of financing government treasury. You know, we are now restricted to the treasury bills. We don't have a bond market. Do you think that bringing back the bond market, I mean the conditions permitting, will help the BOG in managing this kind of losses?
Well, that is also a whole area you are trying to open up.
Yes.
Now, but let me make it very simple here.
And please, very brief.
What we need to understand is that there is no presence of capital market in Ghana. We have every opportunity to create Accra as the capital market of Africa. And we are sleeping on that. But that aside, now if we can free a lot of dependency, government dependency on borrowed money from most of these operations, and also free enterprises from the same money, then we will get it at a cheaper cost. The capital market or the alternative market needs to be created for businesses to go there and borrow. We need to create funds for pharmaceuticals. We need to create funds for, construction industry and all that. And the reliance on maturity transfer must be reduced. That the money the banks keep, we will all go for it. And as private businesses are pooling, government is also pooling, and it makes it expensive for us. That must be the solution and the way forward. Now, going back to the bond market, still comes with a lot of responsibility.
I mean the local bond market.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, the local bond market. Because, again, it crowds out a lot of businesses. And the problem is not on the issue of free trading. There is no free trading there. Because the banks are restricted, right, by BOG, that you cannot put so much into this or put so much into that. You must put so much here and put so much here. They are being directed to do that. They don't have a free hand. And so the moment you open the bond market back again, you are directing the banks to put so much in there, which will raise up the cost of borrowing again for us at this moment.
Okay.
So for me, I would say that although the cost of operating the open market is high, the implicit cost of it has been good, and therefore we should continue for some time until we can bring a proper structure when we are talking about the local bond market, because we have seen the reckless hands of a privileged people in the past, and there is a possibility of the Ghanaian putting this country back into the hands of a reckless, privileged few.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I thought, I said you had a question that you wanted. Or you got a clarity you want.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, great. So if you just join us, we're discussing the loss that has been, of course, declared by the Bank of Ghana, 15.6 billion cedis. Well, I come to my left and
Yes. Continuing from where he left off, and the question that I asked. I asked that question because it seems that this loss stems from, I'll say, a desperate act to put our acts together as a nation after driving ourselves into a serious crisis. So we had high inflation, high interest rates, our currency collapsed. We are shut from any form of financing for the government. So we are desperate to come out of that situation. And that is what is causing both the Bank of Ghana and the government itself on some of these decisions to try and stabilize the situation. So if we look at the gold purchases program, it is clear that, as they say, all economic policies are choices, and each choice comes with its own consequences. And it is clear that the government has made a choice that in order to stabilize the macroeconomy, we first have to get hold of the currency, the dollar, the cedi, to make it stable. And to find that stability, then the government says, okay, now I want to, at all costs, build up my reserve. And the easiest way to build the reserves is, number one, to get the gold through the gold for reserve program. And number two, to also make sure that there's enough forex available to be able to stabilize the cedi. So these are choices that the government has made. And as they say, they made the bed and they rely on it. And to me, what I would say is that for every economic choice that you make, the utility of it is whether it delivered the goal that you set for yourself. So the question we ask ourselves is that, has the government policy choice delivered the goals? So what are the goals? The goals are that we wanted to stabilize the currency, and we already had, we are told, a 40% appreciation of the currency, which in my estimation is historic. And then we come to inflation. Inflation has dropped all the way to 3%. Normally, when you say inflation, people say, but there's prices are going up. They say inflation has fallen. Well, the way to read inflation is not whether prices are falling, but the rate at which they are increasing. So when they say inflation has dropped up to 3%, it doesn't mean that prices will fall. It means that prices will increase at a reduced or a slower rate. So in that sense, the 3% inflation that has been achieved is worth the sacrifice. Then at the same time, we talk about the interest rates. In fact, if you do business in Ghana, if you meet anybody from anywhere on the planet and you tell them that your interest rate is like, your effective interest rate is like 50%, 60%, the first question they ask you, are you selling drugs? Because what kind of business can you do to be able to pay off a 60%, 50% annualized interest rate? It's impossible. So to bring inflation down, that will affect the interest rate, even though it has other levers that are affected. It's also a good goal that can be pursued. So the price that we are paying for achieving this macroeconomic stability, which has been praised by all sides, is the losses that we are incurring. But as our brother said, there has to be a handle or a policy framework to make sure that these losses that we are seeing, especially from the gold purchase program, is made in a more structured way and more transparent way. And as he pointed out, the losses are clearly from the fact that we are prepared to buy gold at a premium and sell at a discount. I think this can easily be resolved, even though I understand the zeal of the government to use the gold to resolve other problems, but they can also cut down on these losses by resolving that issue. And to me, I think one of the things that they can do is to get hold of the artisanal gold sector. We came here to talk about galamsey and all those things, but we must get hold of it. Allowing everybody to just get up and start digging for gold, and in fear of smuggling. And we are told that every year over 4 billion worth of gold is smuggled, and that is worth of gold, dollars worth of gold is smuggled out of the country. And it is trying to get hold of that we are prepared to pay premium to be able to stem the smuggling. We need to get back to the gold conversation, the mining conversation. I mean, for us, we always say that the state must take significant stake in gold production and trading. And we are happy that Gold Board is sitting at the top. But to come down to the producers, because you have a situation where we are told that there are 4 million people involved in gold mining, and we may have over 2,000 gold licenses, everybody mining gold and trading. How can you, how can you regulate this chaotic environment? So we are paying the price for not solving the solution in the gold market. And that is what is reflecting in the Bank of Ghana losses. Now, what from our tradition, we are always saying that, well, we treat economics as a means to an end, not a means in itself. And what is the means, the end of economics to us from the socialist tradition? Is to produce and distribute goods and services so that human beings can live a wonderful and meaningful life. And to do this, you need to have an interventionist central bank. Already there is intervention, but the intervention is at the monetary side. The monetary side is basically the macro and then the money supply and all those interest rates and those things. But you also need intervention if we accept that we need intervention in the management of the economy, and we accept that we need intervention in the macro side. Why do we balk at intervention in the real sector? That is a choice that we made for ourselves. We made for ourselves a choice where if you take the Bank of Ghana Act 612, the primary goal or the objective of the Bank of Ghana, as stated in the section 3.1, is the Bank of Ghana is to maintain stability in the general level of prices, basically inflation. That is why we have the inflation targeting framework for our central bank. This is a choice we made for ourselves. And we agree that we need to make intervention in the monetary side. So when we those from the socialist side say, why don't we make intervention in the real side? The employment side, the production side, the distribution side, the consumption side. Why do we now, based on the World Bank and the IMF and the Bretton Woods and the neoliberal structure that we are dealing with, we are now told that no, don't make intervention in the real sector. But if you look at the most capitalist nation on earth, the American Reserve Bank. They have dual goals: price stability and full employment. If you go to economic policy, economic theory argument, they will say that full employment is something that the socialists and the Marxists talk about. But America says they've adopted it because it's sensible. Apart from production of goods and services, employment also gives meaning to man. For me, I always say that if you are a believer, you take your God and you take your family. The other thing that gives meaning is what you do for a living. So we can't have a situation where the Bank of Ghana is allowed to influence directly intervene in bringing prices level, and then we also balk at the situation where the Bank of Ghana is to intervene directly in providing jobs that gives meaning, produce the goods and services that we consume to make life meaningful for us. And as Honorable said, the Asians got this memo long ago, and they undertook massive interventions in the productive sectors. And that is the lesson that, to me, we need to learn from this episode. There's something that they say that everything that is destined to go wrong will go wrong if you don't make any intervention. So in the natural state of things, unemployment solution will not be resolved unless we make an intervention. And we need to use our monetary and fiscal policy for those purposes right now. And when we're in economic class, they always say that they quote Maynard Keynes, that in the long run we are all dead. in a retort to the monetarists, that we need to keep things that kill, not to intervene in the market to increase production and consumption because it will cause inflation and then you were talking and say in the long run we are all dead. What this means is that what we need to do right now is keep an eye on the price stability, but also make intervention in the market and in the economy to make sure that we are not dead in the long run, but we enjoy in the short run. So I will end by saying that the trajectory that we have with the Bank of Ghana losses, it didn't start today. It started even before we went in a tailspin in 2022. It started long ago, and it started by our intervention in the market to, in quotes, always say to mop up excess liquidity. And it's always to try and tame inflation at the expense of consumption. But when you do that and you tame inflation by mopping up excess liquidity, basically what you are doing is that you are paying banks in Ghana to keep money so that they don't give their money to anybody else. Basically, that's what it means. So if I need money to trade and everything, and the Bank of Ghana is prepared to pay the bank to keep that money not to spend in the economy, basically you're only making the bankers rich. If you doubt, go and look at the financial statements of all the banks from 1980 up till now. Even when the economy has crashed, they are making profits. And this is the kind of economy that we made for us. And that automatically increases the interest rate. And we say we are doing this to save the private sector. But that's where we end up with 50% annualized interest rate, which nobody can borrow to make meaningful business. So our economic policy is hurting us in terms of productivity, consumption, and general welfare. And Ghana is very uncompetitive. There's one thing that I also say, that when you look at the gold, some will say, why are we selling our gold to buy dollars? And we will sell our gold to buy dollars so that we can keep the currency stable. The first thing that I'll say is that a stable currency is very important for Ghana's economy, because we are a small economy. We are heavily integrated into global economy. We are trade dependent. So a weak currency is not in our favor at all. So buying the gold to get how do you call it, the forex is very, very important for the economy. Now, if we buy the gold and we use it to buy dollars, and we use the dollars to import, now there are two things. The first thing is that someone will say we have sold our inheritance, our gold, which is the actual asset. But at the same time, we can also say that from historical perspective, there's this story called Midas touch. You don't eat gold. You don't sleep on gold bed. You don't wear gold. You wear clothes. You eat food. So when you buy your gold, sell it and use it to get a stable currency to help your economy, it has actual impact, because we don't only import consumption goods, we also import capital goods. And these capital goods, like machinery, even in agriculture, we import fertilizer, tractor, and so many things. We import chemicals for our industries. We import raw materials. We import machinery. We import fuel. All these things are necessary. So if you keep your gold and you hoard your gold up, you are not going to, it's not going to bring you wealth. The wealth, as we say it is not the wealth that you keep. It's a wealth that makes you live a good life. So there's a history that I want to point out that, I mean, one of my favorite Asante kings is Kwaku Dua the first. He reigned in the 19th century. One of the things that I like, everybody knows me, I'm not a fan of monarchy, but I like him because he was a reformist king. One of the things that he did, in fact, it was during his time that they imported cowries from Holland. The Asante were very close to the Dutch, and they imported cowries because at that time gold had lost value. So there was de-inflation in the economy because there was gold everywhere. You can get gold to trade but you needed something that was a little bit scarce that can keep its value. That's how come they imported the cowries. So somebody will say, why did you import cowries in exchange for gold? It's because money value is relative, and that is why. So we keep getting gold, and keeping gold is not the magic wand. It is what we sell the gold and keep some for future, and what we use that gold for. That is what will improve our livelihoods and then our economy. I will end by saying that there are a few things that the government can do. The first thing is to get hold of the gold business itself and make sure that we no longer buy at a premium to sell at a discount on the international market. And then the second thing that we need to do is to ensure that we bring some of our gold reserves back home. Now, we know that they are now keeping our gold reserves in America, in New York and London. Just last month, I read a report that says that France has repatriated all its gold holdings from America. France. So we should be careful. It's a dangerous world that we are living in now. And leaving ourselves with our gold reserves outside is going to make us vulnerable. And finally, to reiterate the point that for all this crisis that we faced is because our economy is not resilient. We don't produce enough, we don't export enough, and we don't have enough productivity, growth in productivity. And it is this that we need to get a hand on, and by using the interventionist approach, it should be measured, of course, and it should be risk assessed, of course, but we need to empower our economy to produce and to export to earn revenue. Okay.
Thank you very much. He's a socialist businessman. Well, thank you. Well, I guess a few comments, about 2 or 3, then I'll conclude with Lawyer Andrew Apia Dankwa. As well as nearby talking as if everything is about loss. What about the enormous gains to the country's economy? Like, I think he actually admitted that reduce inflation, reduce and stabilize forest rate, massive reduction in the country's foreign debt, building up of the country's reserves. Just to mention a few, the massive question is, has the BOG deviated from their core mandate of stabilizing the exchange rates? Like I said, Ni talked about that issue. Just as what was the performance of the MPP in governance for them to have the audacity to be lecturing this government on governance? Asanko in Santa Maria joining us. There is SENA. May the Almighty Allah bless you. This Kucho, please. My worry now is John Mahama can't go around and explain things to Ghanaians. They must equip the party communications. Many people understand that your English language, economies, and your GDP. You always I tell you, 80% of us are just listening to you, but to no show. Kucho, interesting. Anyway. La.
Always a pleasure to have my big brother, the Don, on set, and I must appreciate his submission. Very detailed, solid submission. Forgive me for saying except that I don't know how the common man will understand. Maybe he will find a way, but I really appreciate, and I think it's our time in this country we subject certain discussions to experts to deal with. And I must also appreciate particularly the lack of partisanship that he has exhibited. Yeah. My brother Ni, who I don't know why he's still in the MPP. The MPP is for his familiar spirit, but he has a very clean spirit. He has that, and he must leave that before we're
coming back to power.
And my socialist brother, always a pleasure to share this platform with you. Anyway, I'm not an accountant. I don't consider myself an expert in this area. I'm a lay person, and from my lay point of view, I think I must say that my understanding of everything that is happening, and I'm not going to restrict myself to just the 16 point something million.
15.6 billion.
It's 15. Yeah. I'm not going to restrict myself to just that, because my understanding is that ultimately all these things have led to the Bank of Ghana have a negative equity of, I think, 96 billion. I should be corrected if my figures are not right. I think 96 billion. My simple understanding is that this is a clear case of some government, a government that promised to protect the public purse, a government that promised to restructure our economy, a government that promised to take our economy from a Gadsbergen one to one that is transformed. That government poo-pooing, drastically poo-pooing, and another government coming to clean the poo-pooing up. Except to add, in the words from me, that in how they also clean up, it shouldn't lead to more poo-pooing, because then we'll come back to square one. So let's talk about the first poo-pooing and how this report reflects the first poo-pooing. Now, we are being told that as of today, Bank of Ghana has a negative equity of 96 billion. Simply what that means is that if you take all the assets of Bank of Ghana and you take the liabilities, there is a negative. We owe, Bank of Ghana owes 96 billion. Owes the economy, owes 96 billion. A very good one there by your work. Owes 96. So we are in a pit, 96 billion deep. And you get a picture. That's simply what our situation is. Now, you know the impact of that. Because my brother here is a very sharp accountant. So when somebody wants to invest in Ghana, I think they'll consider all that. our economy, it means that Ghana as a country, our economy would not have credibility in the eyes of people who want to come and deal with us. Do you get a picture? Because remember, you recall that during the elections, I said that one of the key factors for which we needed to change Nana Addo and Bawumia and cleanse this country of the familiar spirit come from the NPP was the lack of credibility of our economy in which they had placed us. 96 billion. What constitutes this 96 billion negative equity? That's the question. 96 billion negative equity. Now let me start from the big ones to the small ones. The biggest component of that 96 billion is a 48 billion loss, which is as a result of the DDEP. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I don't want to be giving negative information out there. The biggest component is 48 billion, which is as a result of the DDEP. One will ask, what is DDEP? So when you go to court and you are doing debt recovery cases, sometimes you can see your creditor and beg him, please, let us restructure our debt. In simple terms, let's say I'm supposed to pay you X amount tomorrow. I come and say, listen, I can't pay you the X amount tomorrow. So why don't I pay you, let's say, X divided by 2 in 6 years' time? Because in simple terms, when I go and take, let's say, money from my brother, me, that I'm going to pay, that is a loan, the components will be the amount, interest, and when I'm going to pay. Yeah, you understand? That's the contract. Now, when I'm going to restructure, what is I'm going to say is that, in spite of the fact that I'm supposed to pay this amount at this time, let's say defer that payment, and maybe probably even the amount that I'm supposed to pay. The consequence is that in future, when I go to NI, they give me a loan, they will think twice. But the government of Ghana engaged in a certain DDEP, because the government of Ghana taking facility from various people. Some from the people of Ghana, citizens of Ghana, some from the international markets, some from BOG itself, some from the banks. And you see, people were quick. It was easy for people to give government those monies, and that's what they call bonds. But essentially, we are loaning monies to the state. And you see, the reason why it's so easy for people to give their monies to the state is because Economy 101 tells us. I didn't do economics, I'm a science student. But I know Economy 101 says that the safest place, the least risky place to place your monies is with the state. And that principle had worked for God knows how long. For God knows how long. But that principle worked until Nana Akufo-Addo and his economic messiah, Bawumia, entered the fray. They entered the fray. And you see, to give a little background, Nana Addo told Ghanaians that, oh, I'm good when it comes to governance. I'm good when it comes to the politics. And when Nana Addo said the politics, my understanding was the politics as was understood by Aristotle. A politics whose focus, whose purpose is to create virtuous men. I know politics. I do politics as Aristotle said we should do politics, not as Machiavellian. Machiavelli said we should do politics. But my understanding of the economics, even though I have a first degree in economics, is very limited. So I have this genius, this Messi, plus Maradona, plus Ronaldo Nazario, plus Cristiano Ronaldo, all in one, who can effectively deal with, among other things, the hatarization of the city. You recall that statement. Sidina ye hata 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 hata. Sidina ye hata hata hata. So then you recall that statement. See, that principle is called the principle of the Hatarization of the city. And that Bawumia was going to reverse the principle of the Hatarization of the city. It's not my words. It's the words of Nana Akufo-Addo. Because you see, he told us, and that we all know, we have an economy that is not transformed. We have an economy that is still got its big and in terms of structure. We have an economy that, because of that structure, is unable to create jobs. An economy that is unable to create wealth.
Yeah.
And so they were going to transform the economy. Now, what tools did they have in their possession? The biggest tool they had was the power of fiscal policy. That's the biggest tool they had, the power of fiscal policy. We know that by the terms of our constitution, Bank of Ghana is supposed to be an independent institution. And yet it's the president that appoints the governor and essentially the directors of Bank of Ghana. Now what that means is that the people you appoint are people that you, the president, believe that are capable of supporting your economic agenda. And so he made the appointments. Now, but essentially the tool he had was the power of fiscal policy. How did he use it? How did he use that tool of fiscal policy? I always say fiscal policy to a layman. They're essentially saying that how does the government raise revenue and how does government spend its money? Now, you see, in 2016, so much noise was made about the state of taxation in Ghana. And you recall that in 2017, the first budget, the number of abolishments abolished. 2017. Abolished. Then, along the way, the abolished became times like 70. And if you read the scripture, it's a case of you exorcising demons in somebody. You take 7 demons, and on the blind side of people, you invite 77 demons. That's what happened. So they taxed Ghanaians to the extent where the cost of doing business in this country was up the roof. Essentially, it started before the COVID. Essentially killing private sector. Now, how did they spend their monies also? Did they spend their monies in a manner that was going to be of benefit to private sector? Because you see, we need to understand this. Revenue generation, ability of government to generate revenue is an act that is deliberate, that ought to be deliberate and strategic. Because revenues are not like leaves on a tree. Revenue are not like leaves on a tree that you go and just pluck. But you have a structure, a tax structure, where government is entitled to 25% of profits that any business makes. So essentially, government has positive equity in every business. And so any serious government that seeks to transform will deliberately use its fiscal policy in a manner that will create wealthy men, wealthy businesses. Because that's the only way you can, as a government, be assured of your revenue. 2, when the business become wealthy and become big, you also deal with the issue of unemployment. Because we are an economy where about 60% of government's expenditure was in paying emoluments and salaries. Now, government came on the back of a lot of promises. Chief amongst them was the 10-point industrialization agenda. How did Nana Addo use his power of fiscal policy to push the 10-point industrialization agenda? Now, I'll give you just one example. You take the 1D1F, because the 1D1F was just a small component of that 10-point industrialization agenda. He spent 400 million Ghana cedis in 1D1F, 400 million Ghana cedis in 1D1F.
And the Messi, Maradona, Ronaldo Nazario, Cristiano Ronaldo decided to spend a whopping 5 billion on a useless policy like NAPCO. 5 billion on NAPCO. Now, when they came, they made us to believe that we also had a serious fiscal issue with our energy sector. Our energy sector is largely government controlled, and there were serious debts there that needed to be dealt with. Now, Mahama, who in 2015 was branded as incompetent. He was branded as incompetent by Mr. Hattarization. Created what we call Energy Sector Levies Act. The focus of it was to strategically generate, I think, 1 cedi to deal with legacy debts, which was killing the energy sector. You know that energy is the backbone of any attempt to transform. Now, Nadu inherited that all those funds. What did they do with it? They created some, what was it called? Energy sector, is it corporation, floated shares on the back of that. And what happened to those monies? Indeed, they went ahead and created the energy sector recovery program and promised that by 2023, that program will lead to our energy sector being financially viable. What happened to those monies? When I say Jatemu, they shared it and they dissipated that money. We don't know where those money, because we are in 2026 and this sector is still riddled with debt, so much debt. So much debt. We all saw the scandal, the PDS scandal. Now, I can go on and on, but the culmination of all that was to leave the foundations of this economy so weak that economy 101 was breached. Every year they went to the international market and borrowed 3 billion just to shore up our reserves. To the point it became clear, because we still had an economy that could not generate revenue, it became clear that we can't pay those monies. And so government needed to introduce the DDEP. Now, who had the biggest branch of the DDEP? It was BOG. Because the allegations, and I'm saying allegations because I have not seen it substantiated, that out of the 48 billion, and please help me on this, I'm ready to even see a bit of my time for you to explain if it's, I think about 32 billion of the DDEP was written off. The allegations, I'm saying allegations because I don't know for a fact if that's the case, but it's that it was written off. Now, it was written off on the books of BOG. See, and that's why the things they are saying is, I wish maybe you write some article if you have not already done it. We are talking about good governance. I said we are running a constitution which is based on the principles of probity and accountability. You understand? We know that we are talking about BOG writing, we are talking about public financing then. Did they seek parliamentary approval before doing that? And if they did not seek parliamentary approval, why did Parliament fail to? Or if they've raised, I'm sure Neil will tell he was in Parliament at that time. But 32 billion was written off without parliamentary approval. That's the whole. Now, a combination of all that resulted in our CD plummeting, as in became useless. Have you watched the rise and fall of Idi Amin, where the central bank governor said, "Oh, Uganda money is toilet money. It has been constant." Dada.
You call my money shit.
You call my money shit money? Uganda money shit money. You understand? I don't know what Idi Amin would have done to the governor of Bank of Ghana. The level to which our monies went. At some point it was 70 cities. $1.17 cedis. He said, and we all saw the impact of that. Inflation went all the way to 55%. All the way to 55%. We saw this cascading effect on fuel pricing. And so by January, 2024, we had so many discussions here, and all of us were wondering how the next government was going to deal with this almost impossible position. Yes, they claim that, or not they claim, factually, before they left, inflation came down to 23.8%, I think, which is still catastrophic. Still catastrophic. I know there is a debate as to how much $1 cost. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was around 15 cedis. They are saying that 14 point something cedis. It was 15 point something cedis, as far as I remember. You get the question. And you had these problems, and you were out of the international market. How are you going to deal with these? How are you going to deal with these issues that impacted the credibility of our economy? And when you talk about economics, the most important word there is confidence. That's the most important word. It's like banking. Or what the bank sells to us, or the concept of intermediation, is confidence. So if people do not have confidence in your economy based on your own figures, then you are at an almost impossible situation. And so, I'm not in government. I don't know why my brother is not in government. It's as John Hammer. I'll make this way again. I don't know why you're not in government.
But we all can be in government.
Oh no, it's not about we all not can be in government, but at least I can compare with what I'm seeing. Yes, I can compare with what I'm seeing, and there are excellent guys there, but I do not think there are 5 people who have the intellect and integrity as more than you do. Yes, so it's a call. We are going to do the agenda. He must be in government because at the end we want as we want. You see, when you become when you go in government, the same issue I had with my brother. Why? So it's like in this country, when you have integrity, when you have sense, we don't want you to be near power. How do we come to the country like that? We can't all be in power, but at least we need the best of us.
Meritocracy.
Yeah. You get a picture. Anyway, so back to. So, in light with the reset agenda, and I believe that before that they need to do it quickly, then certain decisions have to be made. So what we are seeing now, the 96 billion net what's called net equity, negative equity that we are seeing, the various losses we are seeing are as a consequence of the kamikaze management of the economy by Nana Addo and the man he touted as being Messi, Maradona, Ronaldo Nazario.
Ronaldo and his nephew.
It was Baumia. It's not his nephew. So
Ronaldo and his nephew.
So Baumia, the man, you recall that on this platform, I said that I chastised the MPP for attempting to sell Abonsam Samana to us. SENA, you recall? Abonsam. I didn't even have this figure. So now, having said this, having spoken about the because to bring inflation down, Bank of Ghana obviously needed to sell some what's it called bonds. You understand? At an interest. That interest is the cost. And they are going to support the call by. So it's not just about to deal with inflation. We had this. Give us details. Or is that what you're saying? Give us details. How many bonds did you sell? What was the cost of what was the interest rate? How much of it was subscribed? Because in cleaning the poo-pooing, we do not want more poo-poo to be created.
And the details of the gold trading.
So no, I'm taking bit by bit. So I'm breaking it down. So the first is the DDP, and I'm saying the DDP now, but the DDP was done, and we are still dealing with it. The next cause of the loss was the cost to deal with inflation, the mopping up, and I don't think I have, but I'm presuming that they sold some bonds to do the mopping up. But those bonds will come at a certain cost. It's not just about saying this in the air. Give us details. The gold board. Is it the case? I want to understand. Maybe it's this way. Is it the case that the gold board here, because it's a corporation, it's a company also?
Yes.
And as far as I'm concerned, there's no company that should be interested in making losses. You understand? Is it the case that with the gold board here, we say we have created a company, we don't care whether they make profit or they make loss? Because you see,
they publish their financials also this week.
And did they make a loss or they made a profit?
They said a surplus. That's what they.
Fantastic. So then they should give us the. So and how much was the surplus? Was the surplus 15 points? What's it called?
I think it's 900 million.
They made a surplus of 900
No, 5.46 billion.
Really?
It's there now.
5 point. But the 50 for something billion loss made by Bank of was. So let me get this straight. So gold board sells to Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
They sell to Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
So if they made 4 point something, then how did Bank of Ghana make the?
They passed the loss to Bank of Ghana literally.
But are they allowed to do that per law?
No, they are buying on behalf of the Bank of Ghana.
And
so it's
that,
like me
so I'm an agent.
trade for me.
So my agent
exactly.
made a loss of this.
Yes.
And no.
So it's your loss.
You see. So you're talking about policy losses here. No, so we can call it policy loss. I'm coming. You let's say it is a policy loss. Because now they are telling us that the essence of those losses was the cost we have incurred in shoring up our reserves.
Okay.
No, so it's a policy loss. If it's a policy loss, then it must be very, very but the transparency level must be up the roof. Yeah, because you see, what agenda can happen there. You see, let's be frank. Let's say things as they are. Agenda can happen right there. And you see, we want a strong and viable and resetted Ghana. That does not mean that, you see, so that it means that in the spirit of consistency, the issues that we had with Nebu, you know Nebu. I don't want to add the Neza. Nebu and Mr. Hatarization, aka Abun Samsamna. See, the evil they did to our country, we should not sit down and allow the so-called messiahs to do same and allow them to go scot-free only because when we do a comparative analysis, theirs look what's called a bit better, or for the excuses that we are being granted. That is, we are dealing with inflation, we are dealing with bringing down the CD. We don't want a situation where another government, the UP government, when we come in power, to be dealing with cleaning up any mess. And they can deal with that evil simply by the transparency. Be transparent. If it's policy losses, tell us, give us details. And there's a bit that they said was accounting loss, and me, I believe in me. Yeah, boy, and I don't know why today he didn't wear the white.
It's transparent.
But the one you shouldn't wear too much. The finance minister that based on the former finance minister, you have no idea. You see, I want to believe. So you're telling us that the so-called accounting or technical losses in the reserve is not accounting loss.
There is nothing called
accounting. There's nothing. It's loss.
It's loss.
Because we were made to believe.
Operational comprehensive.
We were made to believe that because of the exchange rates, so those losses that they are accounting loss. I think they also made the same thing. Yeah, so that was argument that once your reserve, once your dollar is, your CD is strengthened, automatically there is a loss.
But the strengthening of your reserve is equally right represented in the financial statement.
Yes,
so both positive and negative has been accounted for.
So there shouldn't be. Yeah. So we take that. You understand? So at the end of the day, for us to have the best chance of fulfilling the promise of democracy, which really is about economic freedom, economic well-being, then we need both our fiscal and our monetary size very strong. And insofar as we continue to incur these losses, as things stands now, our Bank of Ghana, monetary house, the holder of our monetary power, has dug a hole of about 96 billion negative equity. Don't you think that could impact their ability to dispense with their functions under the Constitution? I don't know, I'll leave it for the experts.
You can also write that one off.
And that will impact our credibility. And that could impact our credibility. So for me to end, you see, there must be a call for accountability. So we are talking about ora, and I'm not seeing the ora too much, and the accountability job is not being done too well, in my opinion. If indeed there was a write-off of 32 billion without parliamentary approval, then there must be a call for accountability. I don't know if you are getting my point. There must be a call for accountability. If Ghana has to make these losses because of bad governance, then there must be accountability, and that accountability is not in just voting one party out of power. You see, accountability, the scope of accountability is not just about you voting somebody out. There must be proper accountability, because there is an offense called causing financial loss to the state. There is an offense in Ghana called causing, and that causing financial loss to the state in the mind of our criminal jurisprudence is done. Whether it was done willfully, whether it was done negligently, it is done. There must be proper accountability, so these things do not happen. So that this government also do not incur these costs and tell us because at the end we benefited in terms of price stabilization, some kind of price stabilization, or then it is okay. Because if there's something that all governments in this country, in my opinion, have failed to do, and I think 2 or 3 years ago, my brother Nee kept on hammering on it. How do we translate the figures into what the economics will say, the development economics will say, in proper wealth creation? Because unless and until we have an economy that creates wealthy people, wealthy businesses, that creates jobs, an economy that is able to generate the revenue that is needed, then SENA, all the noise you are making, coming here to talk plenty, you understand, will be to not. You understand? So to conclude, conclude, good job has been done in stabilizing the economy, the dollar, but in the spirit of good governance and in support of what my big brother here is saying, let us have real transparency. Let's go into the nitty-gritties of all the so-called operations. You understand? Let us know. So the good board, we want to know. You said what was called operational loss was what, 15 points. What necessitated those losses? What are the nitty-gritties? Inflation, you said there were more pen-ups. You understand? That is the reason for the cost. We want to know how many people subscribed, what was the cost, all those details. Because at the end of the day, all of us have a duty to create a country which has credibility, not just in terms of its politics, but that also have credibility in terms of its economics. Thank you.
Sen, I have a quick question, maybe to the two of them. I mean, maybe to him more specifically. How do we account for the ancillary benefits, okay, that all this policy decision making can also bring? How do we account for it? How is it accounted for in the numbers?
Well, it can be accounted for, not in the financial statement, okay, but in other supporting statements that could emanate from BOG or any other place. I mean, in terms of the finance ministry and all that. Okay. For instance, if you look at the expenditure of BOG, for instance, one can make a case that, okay, the cost of printing money some time back was so high because of the exchange position. We are doing probably the same thing at a lesser cost, right? So yes, we can account for those things, but that, you see, where I think we are making a huge mistake is trying to assume that the presentation of financial information, right, should be the same as discussing the economics of it. No, that's what I am only telling people, that what you bring here, the numbers you bring here, is what I will deal with.
Not the
And you see, I don't want government, central government, to take responsibility of the directors of BOG. This is solely on the directors of the BOG. If we have any questions, we should direct it to them. If there are any explanation, it should emanate from them, not anybody from Parliament. It is not wrong to give subsequent explanation to certain things or whatever, but first and foremost, all questions must be directed to the governor and directors of BOG, and they must be at the forefront explaining the financial position of BOG.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you. Well, let me say
So you see why. Anyway, you continue.
Kiss FM 89.7 in Takrady. We are live on China FM at 96.9, Hills FM at Dapu 91.7, Newasi Radio in Ketekrato on 89.7 FM, Sela Radio in Dabala on 97.1 FM. We are also live on Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bera Radio END 106.5, Radio Kitawan Saboba 95.7, Benya FM Elmina on 105.7, Global FM is on 105.1, Zebs FM 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Adesu, Lamar FM is on 89.1 in Tripoli, OM 88.7 FM in Jessica, Lubusi 96.1 in Vergo Lekwati, Time FM 90.9, Sekbele 104.3 FM, Makwini Radio in Man, Leniba Radio 90.9, and Uti Radio in Dambai. A big thank you to you for tuning in to us. We are tuning in to those radio stations, and of course, this is the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. Here, what we promise you is that anybody who comes, we expect them to say, to speak frank and honestly, because it doesn't matter who is involved. Well, let's move on to the next discussion, which has to do with. In fact, one of the very first comments I got was from Philip Abuchi in Keta, talking about the work that was done, and he says that last week an unfortunate fire outbreak occurred at the Akosombo Dam, which was brought under control by engineers after 24 hours. Recently, the President's Excellency John Mahama is sending his appreciation to the engineers for the hard work. I would like to second the President's appreciation and propose further recognition for the engineers. However, it has come to light that some individuals occupy sensitive positions. Okay, I'll come back to that comment, what you sent, but I wanted to highlight the part about what the engineers did. And of course, one of the persons who have come for commendation, and this coming from National Service Authority. So congratulations, Ms. Stephanie Ban, from the Director General of the Management of NSA. Hearty congratulations to Ms. Stephanie Ban, a dedicated National Service personnel, posted to the Ghana Grey Company Limited, graduate of Electrical and Electronic Engineering from UMAT, who has been recommended for automatic employment by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama in recognition of her exceptional dedication during the recovery efforts following the Akosombo Wilco substation fire incident. Today we celebrate your resilience and love for country, Stephanie. So she has come for a particular comment, the National Service personnel who did well enough to attract a lot of attention. Somehow I feel like something this from me. The other me, the one that is not in white today.
Yes. Well, I think it is clear when it comes to our power sector that even before the fire outbreak, we have issues in terms of capacity, issues with availability, issues with our peak periods, issue with our transmission losses, an issue with our recovery in terms of the ECG revenue recoveries and all that we have. And all the losses, generational to financial losses and all that, are basically out of the way and must be corrected. The additional was the fire outbreak, and which has been somehow fixed. But that does not take the challenges in the power sector away. We have issues with natural gas and how we are able to pay. We clearly have issues with what has been described as excess capacity, which for me, I don't agree.
And we do not have excess capacity anymore.
You see,
we never had it.
How can we move? How can we move from just 2 years of excess capacity in the past, excess capacity, to presently no excess capacity? And that is why, in time past, I had said that it doesn't exist. We must understand how the financial the financial bit of the energy sector works, and if you have to account for it, how it works. For instance, if you have a nameplate on a solar plant, let's say a megawatt, you cannot generate a megawatt per hour.
No.
The capacity factor of it is 16%. So out of the 1 megawatt, you may generate maybe 0.16 megawatts, right? And therefore we must per hour. I mean, we must be clear on some of the things. I mean, the attrition level of, for instance, hydro may be higher than solar and thermal, and of course the nuclear is perhaps the most efficient in terms of energy, and then their capacity factor is quite high. So we must understand all these things, that you need to employ a lot more in terms of capacity to be able to generate a certain amount of electricity or power for production. And therefore, all these issues are in there. I think financially we have tried to solve some of the issues. I mean, gradually we are paying down some of our debt, but still we have issues in how we are managing the sector. It is up to us to have a conversation, a proper and well-situated conversation, very honest one, how we want to take or move forward our generation capacity. Look, one of the things we have swept under the carpet, which I think 2-3 years ago, July, should have been implemented under the erstwhile government, was the net metering. What is the fear of government? That I can employ my own capacity in terms of solar, and when I do not need it, I sell it to the electricity company, and SENA can have that electricity at a cheaper cost for his production. We have swept it neatly under the carpet and nobody is talking about it. But what do we actually want? We want stable electricity. Then let's do what it takes to have stable electricity. I understand that as we are seated now, there are legacy debts. That puts some amount of frustration on our finances in terms of a country to have them paid off. We can talk about that separately. But what about the other things? Because our generational mix is tilted strongly and heavily towards the thermal, which means that we have to depend on a lot of fossil fuel. And it is an issue we are not talking about. The natural gas we are using basically is from the West African gas pipeline. Do we need to have a conversation about that? Let us do it, and let us not sweep it under the carpet. Can we have a lot more capital investment into the solar? Because I know that Bui started a project to go solar, and all of a sudden it was shut down. I don't know, for whatever reasons it was shut down. but it is something we need to look at critically. Then, of course, the various management, GradeCo, ECG, I think we need to do a lot more in there. Now look at what we are hearing, the national service personnel coming through to actually be the hero in all this. Well, congratulations to her, and we wish her well. We need more of that kind of spirit and caliber. And so I would also add my voice to highly appreciate whatever she did to get us where we are now. But we must be honest. Do we have the right people at the right place? Are we that capable? Our assets, like what got burnt, what security are around those assets? You go around the dam and it's a security infrastructure. Do we really see that? What preventive measures are put in place so that the reoccurrence of these kind of events will not happen again? You know, so for instance, if we are at war today, how is our power sector protected? It means there will be total blackout, and that will lead to total chaos. If our dam is attacked, and it also exposes us that in that sector we have not diversified our power generations, and it is still reliant heavily on hydro. Yes, we have thermal, but if you take one out, we will feel the shock, and that is not too good. And that is why I will still encourage government to look at the solar and other alternative. I don't know what we are doing at the nuclear front when in the past we took our small uranium enrichment to the UN to hand it over by somebody.
Oh, yes. 2017.
Yes, we handed it over without a fight, you know.
The Chinese came to take it.
And then and so that conversation must be well situated, and we must do it in an honest manner. You see, some of these things, the moment you take power out, production will reduce to virtually zero. We are all dependent on it. How we get to work and everything about production today is dependent on energy. And so we cannot joke with it. We must have the conversation, a proper program that leads to a very well-structured sector, self-sufficient in itself, and something that is self-reliant as well, so that we will not need the West African gas pipeline in the case of emergency, or in the case of a war with Nigeria, which would never happen, but let's assume it happens, right? And they close the gas pipeline. It means part of Ghana will sleep in darkness. So we are reliant on the Nigerians for the natural gas we are getting. I have the belief that we can generate a lot of more natural gas in this country to power our plants, and that is what we should be looking at, and making it a more resilient sector to operate for production and the growth of our people, and then to improve the livelihood of our people. Because how much we buy electricity is also an issue. So I am buying electricity at a very expensive price, and at the same time its availability is an issue. Then inherently the cost is more than what I'm able to afford. And all that must be placed bare on the table for us to have a look at it. But in a nutshell, I think they have done well in recovering. The issues that occur, we must make sure that they do not repeat it themselves again. And then again, we must look at the cost of production, and we must diversify our dependence on thermal and hydro by bringing in other, and if we cannot, let's hand it over to the private sector so that they can put in their own capital, produce power, and you can buy it at a cheaper rate, because the cost or the price at which government will buy the solar from SENA's solar plant in the house will be way cheaper than what government sells to you. And therefore, I don't see the fear in moving towards the net metering, unless somebody somewhere is benefiting so much regarding what is going on today, and therefore does not want us, or does not want private involvement of private capital into the sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, part of the name of the energy ministry now is green transition. Yes, so it's a part of it. It means that we aim to transition from where we are to more. So exactly what he was talking about, solar, wind, among others that can be employed. Now, this is Sami in Adenta, who says President Mahama and the NDC have not learned from their past mistakes in 2016. It was Dumso that took them to opposition. How come in their second coming, the Dumso has intensified again? Even before the fire outbreak of Greco, Dumso was all over everywhere. Even if it's sabotage, they deserve it. Instead of clearing of those NDP managers and engineers, they allowed them to continue working. That's Sami in Adenta who sent that. Yeah, there's Musa Batwa in our who sent us a comment. Says we have a proactive government that places the basic needs of citizens at the center of energy, or at the center of its agenda. Through the decisive leadership of the energy minister, all 6 generation units at Akosombo have been fixed and are now back online. This is a government that promised to reset the country, and indeed we are delivering. Within the shortest possible time, the erratic power supply situation has been significantly stabilized. This is leadership in action. That's Musa Bato sent that one. This is Stephen in Kwabinya says the MPP should be the last to speak about BOD losses because they did worse. BOD are using overprinted money beyond the 5% threshold, flouting our laws, and is still walking free. And that's coming from Stephen, who sent that. You know,
SENA?
Yes, sir.
You know, the power sector is, I would say, it's my baby. Between 2012 and 2016, I was part of a project called the Wuta Power Project, which was developing 220 megawatt power plants in the Western region. I was the director of operations for that business. I was an equity shareholder in that business, and I spent a better part of those 3 to 4 years working on it. I did everything from the licensing round all the way to the siting committee rounds, everything, negotiating PPAs, gas sales agreements. I did that for that company and another company that took over Agreco's assets in the Western region. So it's a sector that I would say I know quite well, and I know many of the players in there. It's a very technical sector, and Ghana has all what it takes in terms of competence, in terms of engineers, in terms of planners, in terms of the technical aspects, everything you can think about. In fact, even the policy framework, everything you can think about, Ghana has it to solve the problems of Africa, not just Ghana. I said Africa, when it comes to the power sector and energy. Some of our hydro engineers are the same people that are running hydro power plants in Canada. They come and pick them from VRA. We have over 50 or 60 years of running one of the biggest hydro plants in the world. We have all the technical men, everything you can think about, and I can always vouch for them. The people at Energy Commission, ECG, Blebo, Baden, all of them and their teams, whether renewable energy, whether, they know their stuff, understand what they do. When we were doing that project, I had an Indian consultant who was working alongside with me, and he just couldn't understand. That was his first time doing business in Africa, and he was always saying, you have everything, everybody's there. They know the stuff more than they that had come to help us. Everything, great cool. One Dr. Anku, I think he's passed away. Brilliant guys, competent people. Yet, we go back in circles and come back to the same spot over and over and over again. Just because our political elites are weak. They don't have what it takes. Power is the blood of any economy under the sun. If you don't have control over your power and your power is not stable, you're a dead man. Your economy will never grow. It's the blood that fuels any economy under the sun. That's power. In fact, for power, we will not even be able to sit here and work or discuss these issues or transmit what we are doing to the people of Ghana. So for me, it's an important sector that we don't need to kid with, regardless of the political party in power, whether it's MPP or NDC. Because the problems are not, I don't even see them as big problems that are not surmountable. It's the political class that hasn't got what it takes to solve our problems. They know how to maybe manage the problems, but they don't know how to solve the problems. Because the power tech sector investments are long-term investments. Very long-term investments. Nobody is going to put a 200 megawatt power plant in Ghana, spend $200 million and not ask for guarantees. It's not possible. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to put a power barge or a ship here to produce electricity and not ask for guarantees. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to do that. ECG, as it is today, is one of the, biggest companies that political parties milk when they come into power. And I'm using the word milk even advisedly. We've seen that in the reports that have come in the past. Missing containers, found here, found not there, looking for this, looking for that. People making expenditures and people are buying equipment that would last 25 years. Or inventories that they will buy for 25 years. Why? It's just because the political class hasn't got a clue. But whilst reading on this subject matter before this meeting, this program, I saw a list of the excuses that government communicators have been given. And sometimes, when you hear the kind of things that our political class talks about, it makes you angry. And I just wanted to mention a few of them. The first one was fault at Ghana Gas. Your transformer in your area has gone off. Fire at Gridco. Damaged transformer. Faulty transformer. I don't know the difference between damaged transformer and faulty transformer. Fault at Gridco network. Plant maintenance. Fault in ECG network. Underground cable fault. Technical challenge. Upstream challenge. And emergency maintenance. Bent HT pole. Cable fault. Falling conductor. Cable joint failure. Feeder fault. Bent HV cable. Heavy rainstorm. MPP sabotage at ECG, Gridco, and other installations. Snakes in transformers. Look, it's as if we are, in quotes, fools, Why in this 21st century should the people of Ghana be sleeping in darkness? Why? There are people who have lived their lives under the sun on this earth in their lifetimes and have never seen electricity go off. So even the excuse that we're replacing 2,000 transformers doesn't even wash. Why? You create redundancies. People change transformers every day. I said in New York, if light goes off for 1 hour, people will commit suicide because they think the world has come to an end. They've never seen it before. In many cities around the world, it's never happened. Unless there's a terrorist activity or there's a natural disaster, hurricane, something of that nature. So in this 21st century, if the people of Ghana have to sleep in darkness or ration power, no investor will be interested in even investing in Ghana, let alone create jobs. Even local investors will not be interested in investing in Ghana because if you want to do manufacturing and you cannot have electricity to do the manufacturing, how will the economy grow? Who will be interested in this? You get to the airport and the power goes off. You enter the city and half of the town is dark. Nobody will be interested. This is the reality of our power sector situation. And the earlier, just as my brother said, the earlier we look at it honestly and holistically, because this is long-term financing, long-term investments. And the investors that are coming to build your 200 megawatt power plant as IPPs are coming with their pension funds, other people's pension funds. You want to lend your pension funds to the government to spend. This is what we need our pension funds to be doing. When the project I spoke about that I was working on, or I was part of, we were working in partnership with an Indian company called GMR. GMR alone is a man and a son who created that business. Alone has built 5,000 megawatts of power in India. 5,000 megawatts, equivalent to what Ghana, the whole Ghana has, and is not even able to manage. Private company, you can Google them. They have what you call, in India, they have what you call infrastructure development companies. Private businessman, he gets some small equity, maybe from his previous business, puts some money on the table, goes to pension funds, gets some money from the pension funds, floats the company, and everybody is a shareholder of the company. They raise their money and the company is running. So I need to raise $200 million. I have 20 million. I put it on the table. I've gone to pension funds to raise another 20 million, 40 million, or maybe 70-30 equity share. So we've raised our 30%. We go to the people of India. We float the company. And that's how they are building their roads. That same company is the company that builds the Delhi airport. That same company has built over 7,000 kilometers of road using the same model. They have about 6 or 7 companies like that. We call them infrastructure development companies. They are not construction companies. So these are infrastructure. So for every project, they float the project. And people become shareholders of the project. So for roads, they have electronic tolling. Or the government pays them annuity over a period of time. That's it. This is not rocket science. This is something that already exists. That's how Turkey has built all their infrastructure. That's how India has built all their infrastructure. That's how China, Asia, all of them have built their infrastructure. So why can't we copy? And the same thing with power. Africa's population is growing leaps and bounds. Ghana's population is almost going to double in the next 100 years. You know how much electricity we need? Greater Accra alone, if we want to really, really industrialize, we need more than 20,000 megawatts. In Greater Accra alone, in the next maybe 15, 20 years, if we really want to become the kind of economy that we want to be. Dubai, the city called Dubai, has over 20,000 installed capacity of 20,000 megawatts. Just one city. So if we really want to industrialize and come out of this quagmire, this Gadisbergen economy, all the things you have spoken about in the first round of discussions, all the issues that you have spoken about, it boils down to power. Because if you don't industrialize, if we don't, create, industries and export, or let's say an export-led economy, we don't create that, we'll always be going around in circles and trying to douse inflation down by mopping up money. One government will print money, the other one will come and mop up. Then we'll print a little and the other one will come and mop up. We'll be going around in circles. So it's an extremely important, I don't want to blame any government or say that, oh, it's doom so, or doom CAC, or doom whatever. it shouldn't happen in the first place. There shouldn't be any doom in the first place. And I think that our contracts, our social contracts, should come with some punitive measures for companies like ECG. You know, because they are big public companies, out of what the lawyers call they are public goods. Out of those public goods, it's difficult to let's say sue them as an individual. Go after them and say that, oh, they're public goods. Yes, go after them as an individual. But we should be able to go after them as individuals, so that they sit up. Or maybe what the government wants to do by privatizing it, we look at it carefully. Because if we need to industrialize, if I'm a businessman and I want to build a food manufacturing business, and I come to Ghana, and I mean, even if the power is available and it's expensive, I'll consider, because Ghana's labor is cheap comparatively. But if the power is not available at all, then why will I come here? Why would I come and create the jobs in the first place? People are panicking because they fear that, look, what happened between 2013 and 2016 may happen again. You should have listened to the Association of Ghana Manufacturers Industries, GCN or something like that. I heard them a few days ago. And they were complaining that we should be transparent with them. Let them know, because it is not the grid co-fire that caused the problem. It's not the grid co-fire. The problems I've listed are all I mean, the reasons I've listed are all reasons that the government has given, one way or the other. But really and truly, we have to look at the power sector holistically, so that we would nip this thing in the bud and be able to give the people, or the business class and industrial base, the confidence to invest in this economy. Because trust me, look, even beyond that, healthcare, there are people who are on special drugs, special medication, what do you call it, insulin and co, that need to be in some temperature and all that. Just imagine that you've imported insulin and blah, 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 blah for your pharmacy shops or whatever, and you don't have electricity to keep your fridges cool. You have to run generators. Fuel prices are going up. I mean, if you look at world market price for crude oil now, it's hitting like $120. So definitely fuel prices will be, diesel prices will be going up. How many of us can run our generators? And I want to thank my brother for talking about net metering. It's been on the table of Energy Commission for years. They've been discussing it, but there's no political drive of it. When you go to many jurisdictions, there's net metering. You have what you call rooftop solar. So every home, school, secondary school, blah, 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 they all have rooftop solar. When the solar is not in use, or the demand is low, it automatically sells power to the grid. So if you leave your home and you go to work, and you have solar on your roof, your solar will be selling power to the grid, so that industry will be using it. When you come home in the evening and you run on your domestic grid, the grid power, it will offset it, and then the difference. Sometimes you even make a profit at the end of the month. So we should be looking at these things, and then rather task the institutions as well, the state institutions like Energy Commission, to be more vocal on these matters, because it's as if the political class don't really understand the impact of their jobs or of their role. And look, even this grid problems that we have, the Gridco has a grid management what do you call it, program that needs investment from us, from the state. And if the state cannot do it, the state should allow the private sector to come in. Pension funds should be allowed to invest in these long-term infrastructure opportunities, so that over the next 25 years, when I'm in my 60s going on retirement, I know that, oh, my monies that went into that road infrastructure or that power sector infrastructure that helped me to build my business would even now be yielding profits, and I'll be able to go on a good retirement and smile to the bank at the end of the month. So SENA, I'll end on that note, and task my brother John Jinapo to be more proactive. You know, be more proactive. I like his soft touch, the way he tries to, but he should be truthful to all of us and let us know that he needs money to do these investments, so that we all advocate for him. We all advocate for him, so that people know that, I mean, these investments are not cheap. They are not cheap. The 9 billion windfall that we got from gold, for me, I think some of that should have been channeled into things like the power sector. Take care, not necessarily take care of the debts, take care of the infrastructure, so that the infrastructure will build, will generate the wealth that you need, or generate the income that you need, and then now take care of the bills at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. This Martin Abiun Latebi Okoshi, who says the government must be blamed. Where is the missing cables and containers? Where are the Baumia electricity meters? May I ask, please, how much does it cost to install new meters? If I apply for one in the country now, this will continue just because nobody is being charged for their misconduct in rendering services to our dear nation. Martin, thank you. This okay, this is, I think this Sichope again back says, Ghana's power crisis should be addressed with honesty, not politics, which I think the current government is doing well. The current government is responsible for today's outages. The current government for today's outages, but the problem did not start overnight. It is a result of years of debt, poor planning, and postponement of maintenance, especially under the previous administration. The opposition also cannot claim easy solutions given past challenges with maintenance and debt about 1.2 billion. The crisis today continues from those unresolved issues, worsened by challenges at Akosomo Dam and ongoing infrastructure upgrades. So I believe practical solutions are what Ghana needs now. Solar energy should be made more affordable for households, while national grid must be strengthened to ensure industries receive stable and reliable power. The focus should not just be on blame, but on real forward-looking solutions to fix Ghana's power sector for good. Omando Sichope sent that from the Guan constituency. Mr. Dakwa.
Yes, Sena, I will start by saying that we must approach this power issue from a high level, because the first one is to look at a long-term plan. A long-term plan, not this episodic fixes that always recur. We have to have, even if it's a 50-year plan, we need a 50-year plan on power. Then we also need management of the generation and then the distribution system, ECG, and then the thermal plants, the IPPs, and then the state-owned companies. We need to get hold of them. And then we also need to, as my seniors have said, the transition aspect of the ministry must come to light. But I would like to put things in perspective. As of today, the per capita consumption, energy consumption of Ghana is around 3,483 kilowatts hour. So every year, if you take one individual, all the power that we consume is 3,483. Now compare this one to a country like even Mauritius. Mauritius is 19,000. Singapore, 147,000 kilowatt hour per person. Vietnam, they are contemporaries, 12,000.
No, they've gone past us.
You see? Well, I mean, Malaysia, 39,000 kilowatt hour per person. Now, what this one should tell you, and one of my favorite economists, Steve King, he says that 1% growth in GDP requires a 0.8 factor of energy application. So to be able to grow GDP to $100 or 100 cedis, you need almost 90 cedis worth of energy. So energy, as my brother said, is what is driving the economy. Without energy, we can't do it, we can't produce anything. And if you look at Ghana, the installed capacity now is like 5,260. One city in Singapore has that is the capacity. And yes, and even that our peak load is 3,900. Now look at the situation of 3,900. We can't even keep the power on. We can't manage the network. And what I want to say is that, you see, normally when we speak, they say, why are you going back? You're always talking about Nkrumah. But when Akosombo was inaugurated in 1966, a month before the coup, the energy that we produce was 6 times more power than the country needed. But even at that time, we were industrializing. We were building factories everywhere. And in anticipation of that, we were building enough energy so that we can use it to industrialize. You can't industrialize or have manufacturing if you don't have energy. And if you don't have manufacturing, that's why we are suffering. You cannot solve unemployment. So we need to get hold of our energy sector. If over 60 years ago we were ahead of the curve, but now we are so far behind, and we need to get hold of that. And to make matters worse, the cost of energy in Ghana is very high.
One of the highest in the world.
Yes, yes. In fact, when I talk about Vietnam, the cost of 1 kilowatt hour is 0.078 US dollar per kilowatt hour. Ghana is 0.1, not 0.0, 0.185 US dollar.
Ours is 10 cents and more.
That's
0.7 cents.
That is it. So, and if you compare India, even India, as Senior was talking, India is 0.69. 0.069.
All of Southeast Asia, all of them don't go above 0.6.
That is the issues that we are dealing with. You see, so when we keep talking about competitiveness, these are the building blocks of competitiveness, and we need to get real hold of this thing. So I also agree with my brother when he said that this idea that we had excess capacity. How can an energy poor nation have excess capacity? We have pent-up need, pent-up demand, which have not been met. So that conversation should not even have, but of course I understand that in this country we are forced to frame everything in competitive electoral competition, what I call a race to the bottom. Like, I was worse and you are worse, you know. So we are forced to do that. But when you look at the global picture on energy in Ghana, we have serious problems, and we need a long-term plan where we should take our installed capacity to no less than 20,000 megawatts within the next 5 years. If we want to develop, industrialize as a country, even residential consumption. It's unfortunate that it's sad that we live in disorganized built environment. You know, shacks, not planned. There's demand for services in the houses. Everything is not well organized. So we can't even see how much energy poverty we have. And we need to put in place these measures. Now, when I look at the situation, it means that what happened means that the energy sector is not resilient. It's not resilient, and every engineer system must have redundancy. It must have resilience. You must have plans that when something goes down, you should be able to immediately resolve it for the system to come back on, because the whole country runs on this. And that is how come when your phone, you want to call somebody, it's not going. Everybody is complaining about the telecos. But the same with energy. We must have redundancy plans. We must have contingency plans where the moment something happens, like this incident, we should be able to kick in other systems so that we can all get back online. And that is something that must be done immediately. The other thing is that, you see, ECG, how do you call it, the reform of ECG. You see, unfortunately in Ghana, when they are talking about such things, we make it a binary conversation. That, ECG is not doing well, let's privatize it. Then the workers will say, no, we will not agree, then the end of discussion. I think that kind of conversation is very, very bad for our development. In fact, let me digress a little bit. It's just like language. The moment anybody says that let's adopt local languages as official languages, then somebody will say, oh, let's use Twi. And then the other will, no. Then that's the end of discussion. Why can't we adopt multiple languages as official languages? We've done it before anyway, but that's a digression. But it's the same frame that we use to discuss this kind of issues. That it's either privatization or status quo. No, we can combine it. Indeed, ECG is a big company. I'm telling you, if they put ECG, they value ECG and put it on the stock exchange, I think it may be the biggest in terms of capitalization in the country. Because look at the number of customers and the amount of revenue. And as our senior said, it has become a cash cow for people. That a lot of contracts are given, a lot of largesse, appointments here, and they become very, very, very unresponsive to demand. So some of the things that can happen is, first of all, putting strong mechanisms for accountability. That every penny spent will be accounted for. And in that situation, I'll have to commend this government for what they have done with the cash waterfall mechanism. If you read the report from the the PURC, you will see that for the very first time, the cash waterfall mechanism is working, and whenever they are able to, whatever the revenue that they collect, they are able to share it to the IPPs and then the other people in the chain. But we need to be more efficient in generating the revenue. There are so many, so they have this commercial losses and technical losses. When you put those two together, about 30% of the energy generated cannot be accounted for. Which business can sustain itself with this kind of losses? So immediately something has to be done. And this can involve cutting up the ECG, not to privatize, but let's say they have a centralized system where they have smaller units. So if in my area or around the whole neighborhood, they sell power to one vendor, and that vendor is responsible for selling to the various houses.
A distribution model.
Exactly. So that they are responsible for collecting the revenue. If I'm responsible for collecting revenue in my area, that's small space, and if I'm not able to collect, I'll be cut off.
In fact, they actually pay upfront. The redistributor pays upfront.
Exactly.
So ECG gets its money from day one.
Thank you, Honorable.
They don't have to wait.
You see, so
there's a model that works in another place, in India, Bangladesh. That's what they do.
And these are options that are on the table.
It will even create businesses for Ghanaians.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Create businesses, ensure there's power, there's accountability, you get your revenue. So these are some of the things that they need to revisit and ensure that they will be able to raise the revenue to pay for the power. And also the kind of agreement that we go into to make our power very expensive. We must look at that.
The PPAs.
Yes, we must look at the power purchasing agreement so that we don't end up paying one of the highest tariffs for power in the world. So I will end here by saying that, well, the government has done well by restoring the power, but that is not the solution that we put them there for. We need them to step up to the plate and bring ideas and reforms so that we'll be able to, number one, increase the power pool for industrialization and economic advancement, and then secondly, to make the whole system efficient so that we will all have power all the time. So thank you, SENA, for this round.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Dauda who says, I think this infrastructure company model is laudable and government must engage him. What you propose? What you're proposing? This one is Hardy in Pig Farm who says accountability must always come first when critical national infrastructure is involved. This action sends a clear signal that no one's above scrutiny, especially when the stability of the electricity supply is at stake. The reported shake-up within the electricity company of Ghana in the Shanti region further reinforces the government's commitment to addressing inefficiencies and rooting out any form of internal sabotage. It is becoming increasingly evident that certain elements within the system may not be aligned with the broader vision of progress and reliable service delivery. Decisive actions like this are not only justified but necessary to restore public confidence and ensure that the sector operates in the best interests of Ghanaians. Thank you. That's Hadi in Pig Farm who sent that one. Abbas Omogobo in Ofinso says, a good morning. President Mahama is doing excellently well. The MPP only came to destroy. They should better wait till 2040. That's Abbas Omogobo. Lawyer, please wrap it up for us.
I have 5 words, yes. So I think I'm going to be as blunt as I can.
Okay.
My brother Ni in White said our leaders are weak. As much as I agree with that, I think he was very, very charitable with them. There's a fundamental, there's a criminal lack of commitment by our politicians to deal with the reasons why we give them power in the first place. See the solutions, as in the various angles and solutions. Well, in 2018, NOMBO and people came up with a program called the Energy Sector Recovery Program.
Yeah.
Very comprehensive program. It's in a book. It's about a 70-page document. And it dealt with essentially all the issues we have discussed here and even more. It dealt with how, because you see, when you take a value chain, you have the generation of the energy, of electricity. You have the transmission, and you have the distribution and the commercial side. 3 essential layers. You understand? They recognize that. They recognize that the problem with electricity or power sector was one largely due to the financing, to the systems, and to proper governance. They know. They know. In fact, to the extent that they could predict that, listen, if we implement this program that we have comprehensively put together by 2023, we will not have these energy crisis. So the waterfall mechanism is as a result of that program. You know, autism, they said they didn't say autism before. They didn't say autism before. I don't know. It wasn't there. They said, oh, we've done this program. By the time we are done with the 2023, energy sector will come to a commercial viability. And then these people, having failed, they failed drastically in implementing. No. They failed drastically in implementing it. Then 2024, when they lost, then they started they became prophets and said, oh, we are giving you up to 3 months. Do so happen. They prophesy, you understand? They became prophets. Give me 3 months. Do so will happen. Do so will happen. It was the same people who said that we have excess capacity. Why have they signed those contracts and blah blah blah? All those nonsense, you see. And so I agree with you. And that's why I asked in my first submission that why are you there? You are a clean spirit. They will contaminate you. We don't need you contaminated.
Clean the house.
No, you can't clean that from that spirit that is so powerful. So powerful. Need advice. This advice I'm giving. He gave me this advice here. How many times did you advise me? I came out, I realized, oh yes, the ferment is too powerful. Someone advising my knee, leave there. Don't contaminate you. Because lack of commitment is worse than weakness. Lack of commitment. Because you see, if it was because we didn't know the problem, then that one we can forgive ourselves. We can go and pay for experts to come. But it's not because we don't know the problems. Now, if we knew the problem, we did not know the solution. Because if there was one thing that was consistent with all the three submissions, Ni here didn't talk about the problem. He gave solutions. My Ni in white also didn't talk about the problem. He spoke about solution. My socialist friend also spoke about what the solution. I'm the only one who is talking about issue. So they are better people than I am. The point I'm trying to make is that we also know the solution. So it's not that it was one thing knowing the problem, but if you know the problem and if you know the solution, then why are we where we are? Why are we where we are? And these are people who have taken an oath to be faithful to Ghana. To be faithful to Ghana means they are going to be faithful to the values, the principles, the ideals of Ghana. To be faithful to Ghana means they are going to be faithful to the solutions of Ghana. And they are faithful. And you have people who will call and be doing petty politics with this issue, which goes to the very foundation of our developmental agenda. Because without energy, then we are goners. You understand? I think today I have been sacrificed. Yeah. So to end, I have so much to say on this issue. To end, Ghanaians need to ask themselves this question. One, do you think it is worth our while still having MPP as a political party? We need to ask ourselves that question. We need to ask ourselves that question. Is it worth our while having a political party that is so adverse, whose agenda is so adverse to the collective agenda of Ghana?
We want to reset the party.
You see, to a political party who is working against the aspirations of the people of Ghana. And two,
so we're going to reset the party with the Japan as chairman.
Oh, sir, I want to be chairman. That will be I want to win. As I call him incoming. It's not arrival. And then to implore on His Excellency Jawama and the NDC. Because some of the things, because you said that they are already implementing the cash water flow mechanism. They are changing transformers. You understand? I hope they've listened to my colleagues here, all the solutions. They should go into the energy sector recovery program. They should go into it. It shouldn't matter that it was the MPP that put up that program. The text and the spirit of the program is on point. All what was missing, or it was unfortunate that the person who was at the helm of affairs was Nebu and Abonsam Samna, who decided to pull a fast one on Ghanaians. His Excellency Mama, go into the ESRP, show commitment to it. Let's change our energy sector. Listen to my brother Ni Yaboy on what's called the net metering issue. My brother here about introducing private sector in the infrastructure. We have the PPP Act. We have a PPP Act. Why can't we leverage on that to finance our infrastructure, what's called deficits? Let us come together and let's build a nation that can take its rightful place as the black star of Africa. But we cannot do that if the MPP is still existing. Oh, forget about them. That's even worse. You wrote it. It was an exam.
We are going to implement
but this week was one of the things they've been mentioning, the ESRP.
Oh,
yes, they've been mentioning it.
You see how diabolic they are. You see how diabolic they are. Because they know that people won't read. You see, that's the dishonesty with. They know that reading isn't one that is interesting. People won't read it. People don't. But they failed monumentally. I've met a Japanese son a number of times on, and I put it to him. He was energy. And he was all over the place on the issue of the ES. Because you see, they made a prediction that if we implement, so it's like you say, okay, it's like you go to the doctor. Doctor gives you medicine. Says if you take all this by 2 weeks time, you'll be okay. You understand? And the doctor himself, the doctor himself refuses to give you the medicine. And then when you fall sick, he said that, oh, he has happy and Mama should implement. Come on. See, our quest to become the blacks of Africa will not be successful if the NPP as a political party still exists.
That's not true.
And will bring me to the UP. All the correct MP people, you can come to the UP. But this MP whose chairman is going to be chairman, want to be there, I beg you. We don't want it in our political space.
Chairman, there will be exactly.
That was yesterday. Thank you. Yesterday was a day set aside to say kudos to all workers. We are all workers here. We are all workers here. Of course, that's all we ask for. That yes, that we ask for better conditions for workers. That's a please. I just wanted to say kudos to our workers. I'm not starting a new discussion. My time is up.
Who are unemployed? Plenty.
Yes, our unemployment rate is quite high.
You should have an unemployment day.
Today I understand is the birthday of the sports minister, Idi Kofi Adams. Today is his birthday. So a happy birthday to you and a happy birthday to a friend of mine I haven't seen in a long time, Mrs. Kekeli Amfosaki. Happy birthday to you, and of course, happy birthday to Honorable Ninoy's son. Yes, and then his in-law. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So today, dear, you have a lot to do. You have a lot on your. Well, that's all how we conclude the show for today. Big thank you to our partner stations across the country.
There is something I need to say.
Okay.
Sometimes when we are on this platform and the views we express and share, it is not supposed to be only partisan, but it is also to keep those in charge of governance on their toes. Okay. And I want everybody to understand some of the things we say here. It is for the reason that we do not want to return to the era of what we saw some years back, but we want to stay the course. And I will leave all Ghanaians with this ancient quote: the gates of hell are open night and day, smooth the descent, and easy is the way. But to return and view the cheerful skies, in this the task and mighty labor lies. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, that wraps up our discussion for today. It's like he's talking about what we are facing currently, trying to fix problems which we are watching on fester, the hard work that we need to do. Well, I am SENA NOMBO. A big thank you to our panel for today. A big thank you to, let me start from my left. Kwesi Adakwa is a member of the Accra Collective of Socialist Movement of Ghana. Ninoy Hansen Norte is former member of Parliament for Tema Central. And of course, Ni Yaboyanan is a financial analyst. He's member of the NDC from Ododo Diodio. Yeah, one of the most interesting places, constituencies when it comes to our politics. He has such a strong thing when it comes to the history of Ghana's politics, because he used to be where Nkrumah stood. I said Uketeke at the time. And of course, a big thank you, as always, to lawyer Andrew Apia Dankwa. Nice to see you this morning. I hope the family is well. Great. All right, and a big thank you to those who work from the MCR this morning. A big thank you to Emmanuel Ose, who somehow called Titi, because T is not in any of the names, but he somehow called Titi. Titi is in charge of MCR, in charge of sound, and a fantastic job. A big thank you to my producers, led by Tijani Badamasi, and of course Latifa Adams. We'll see you same time next week with another edition of the show. Do take good care of yourself.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.